Welcome to the Church360 Unite Settings, Pages, and Navigation webinar. Today I'll be your host. My name is Jordan Bogart. I'm a software support technician here with Concordia Technology Solutions, and I've been here just over 8 years now at this point. So I've really appreciated the opportunity to serve our churches here through all of our products. But today we're going to be talking about Church360 Unite. So during the course of today's webinar is being recorded. If you have any questions, in the questions window, all phones and microphones have been muted, so you won't be able to just say your questions, but you can type them into the questions window, and myself or joining me today is my manager, Rod Kiles, and he is going to be responding to any questions you guys might have as well. So if you think of any questions during the course of the webinar, just let them fly. We'll answer them as we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our outline of today's class. So talking about it here, we're going through our overview course right now. We're going to do a discussion about the various topics we're going to cover, which I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And then there's going to be a quiz. Now, no pressure on you guys for the quiz. This is more just saying, hey, did what I say stick with you guys? And you guys learn something there. You are not being graded, so don't worry about that. And then, of course, at the session, if you were holding any questions to the end, we do have a time at the end for a Q&A session, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have about today's training there. Okay, well, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're going to start things off here by talking about settings here inside of Church360 Unite. We're going to go through the settings menu, all the different options there, and kind of explain what all these affect. Then we're going to be talking about themes. So we're going to be talking about theme selection, styles, how we can customize our theme, some customizations we can make on our themes. So we're going to be talking about a few different things when it comes to themes. After that, we're going to be talking about the pages menu. We're going to be talking about pages, kind of how we can arrange our pages, how we can set up our navigation, everything like that. And then we're going to be talking about adding content to our pages. So, talking about the rows and cell system to actually arrange the layout of your page, adding content, of course, then to those cells. And we're going to talk about different cell types. And if you're wondering what cells are, well, hang tight. We're going to get there. We're going to talk about that during that section of the training today. So with all that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera here now. And I'm going to pull up a blank Church360 Unite page. This is freshly created just this morning, so we have a clean slate to work with here today. So I am logged in right now to my Church360 Unite web page. Now, your church's Church360 Unite web page is going to be unique to your church. Every church's church web page is. So if you look up here at the address bar, you can see the address for this particular Church360 Unite page is unite2022.360unite.com. And then we're on the home page, so you see it says /home. Your churches will be unique. This part here before the .360 Unite is called your church's subdomain. Every church will have a unique subdomain. So if you're not sure what your church's is, you can always reach out to our support team. We can definitely help you track that down. But that's going to be kind of your unique ticket into Church360 Unite. Now, if you're not signed into Church360 Unite here, it'll vary depending on what theme you have. But in this theme, the material theme, if I click on this little person icon and click sign in, this is going to take me to my sign in page, and this is going to show me the different ways I can actually sign in. I can sign in using my email address or a username I've set up. I can, and then I'll put in my password. You can also go ahead and synchronize your sign in with Facebook, your Facebook login or your Google login. So other ways you can sign in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and get signed in here. Let me just go ahead and do that really quick. And there it is. Okay, so we're signed in. So now the question, so let's go ahead, and now that we're signed in, now I'm an administrator, so I'm going to have access to this full menu along the top, and we'll get into more about the different types of users during tomorrow's training. But today, let's go ahead and jump into the settings menu. Let's start there. Okay, so we are starting up here with our account settings. Now, here in our account settings, the first thing I want to show you here is this usage meter. Okay, Now, this usage meter tells you the amount of data storage you have on your Church360 Unite website. Now, there's different plans for Church360 Unite, and different plans kind of afford you different amounts of storage. If you're on a trial, you have 500 megabytes of storage. If you're on the standard plan, you get 2 gigabytes worth of storage. If you're on the advanced plan, like this site is, you have 10 gigabytes worth of storage. And finally, if you are on the premium plan, you have unlimited storage. Now, as far as what kind of takes up this usage, anytime you're uploading images, video, audio, files, anything you upload to Church360 Unite is going to use a little bit of your storage, and it's going to depend on the file size of the item that you're uploading. So keep that in mind when you're putting content on your site. We typically give you kind of enough room to have a good amount of content on your site, but again, you'll want to keep an eye on that. Okay. Next up here, you have your church information. This is just some basic stuff here. You're going to have the name of your church, primary contact email for your church, phone address information for your church there as well. And this is all fictional information here, of course, but you can see that all there. And then the time zone for your church. And that's going to, when it comes to having events on your event calendar, this is if you have visitors from outside your time zone visiting your church website. This will relate the events to them in their appropriate time zone then. Okay. So any changes you make here on the settings menu, you want to click Save Changes when you're done, and that'll save any changes that you've made. So just something to keep in mind there. Now, we're just going to take a brief stop into this next item. But the next item here is the Calendars menu. We'll be discussing this more during tomorrow's training. We're talking about preparing our calendar of events on Church360 Unite. So hang tight on that. We'll be talking more about that tomorrow. Next up, we have the domain settings. So this is where you can set up a domain for your church. Now, to answer the question of, well, what is a domain? A domain is kind of like a shortened name for your church website. Right now, for this church website, in order for anybody to get to it, they have to go to unite2022.360unite.com. That's the website they'd have to go to. But if I wanted that to be, just unite2022.com or .org, you can purchase a domain and then connect that domain to your Church360 Unite website, so it's easier for people to reach your church's website. Now, we offer domains here at Concordia Technology Solutions, and in fact, domains come with the advanced or premium plans here in the system. So if you have an advanced or premium plan, we can help you set up a domain and get it attached to your Church360 Unite site. Or if you're coming in from another website and you already own a domain, we can go ahead and help you get that set up on our end as well. But if you're a standard customer, you can still go ahead and purchase a domain with us as well, and you'll want to contact your salesperson for pricing on that. But yeah, you can purchase a domain, and then what you'll want to do, it's going to show you the host records you'll need to put in your domain host. So if you have your own domain that you want to use that you didn't purchase through us, you can still use that. But these are the host records you'll want to go ahead and add to your domain provider. And if you have questions about that, you can always give us a call on support, or you want to reach out to your domain provider and they can help you get these added. And then on the Church360 Unite end, you'll want to come here to this domain box and you'll want to type in your domain name. So typically it's going to be whatever you have for domain name, and like .com or .org. Now, you'll want to leave this www dot here. That's there for a reason. Don't get rid of it. If you get rid of it, that's going to make it so your domain still doesn't connect properly. So just keep that in mind. You want to if you're working with a domain, make sure you leave that www here. But yeah, you can put all that in, and again, that'll make it easier for people to find your church's website. Next up here, we have the Google Analytics section. So the Google Analytics section, this is a free tool that Google offers. And if you're interested in that, you can sign up here where it says google.com/analytics. You can sign up through your Google account. And what this is going to do for you is this is going to let you attach your Google Analytics account to Church360 Unite. What that's going to do then is with Google Analytics, you can see analytical information, for lack of a better term, about your church website. So things like, okay, what websites are people coming from? What pages are they looking at? How long are they staying on the church website? So you can get a lot of good information about your visitors to your church website, so you can kind of better tailor the information on your church website to your visitors. This can provide you with a lot of good insights into your visitors, and again, really help you make the church website really work better for your visitors. Now, if you're interested in putting Google Analytics on your church website, you'll sign up here. You can check the box says enable Google Analytics, and you're going to get an account number here from Google Analytics. And you'll just place that here, and that will go ahead and connect your Google Analytics account to Church360 Unite. Okay. Now, next up here is integration with Shepherd Staff. Shepherd Staff is our desktop church management software. So if you have Shepherd Staff, you can definitely connect your Shepherd Staff database to Church360 Unite, and that's going to sync up your congregation's information to your Church360 Unite website, so you can take advantage of the online directory component of Church360 Unite. It has step-by-step instructions here on how you'd set that up, and it's going to provide you with a token and your subdomain name to place into Shepherd Staff, so you can make the connection between Shepherd Staff and Church360 Unite. Next up, we have the social links section. This is where you can place links to, this is where you can go ahead and put in links to your church's various social media websites. Here right into the system. So you'll see we have options for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Vimeo. And Vimeo is another video hosting website. But you go ahead here and you get the website link to your church's various social media website. And when you add those in, if you look along the bottom of your page, you'll see those various icons appear at the bottom of your page, and those will appear at the bottom of every page. So people can then very easily find your church's social media web pages. Okay, so that's the social links feature. Finally, then there's the texting option. And then again, this is something we'll talk more about during tomorrow's training about how we can send out text messages from Church360 Unite. This is where we'd go to start things up and get things set up for text messaging. And that's our settings section. There's several different options under here, but this is all really important stuff when you're getting your church's website set up. So you want to check in on this. If you're just getting started, the settings place is a good place to start. Now, next up here, we can talk about themes. Themes are the overall look and feel of your church website. Now, they're different. We offer a lot of different themes here in the system. And so, you can see we have 12 different themes here. And when you pick a theme, it'll also ask you to pick a preset. Now, I'm using the material theme here. So you can see I have that selected. There's material theme, and we offer different presets. And presets are basically like color, coloring and things like that, and some font choices that it provides you as default. And it's just mainly a starting point. It's nothing you have to end with, but it's a starting point for your theme. Now, like I said, we offer 12 different themes here, and they offer different options. And you'll see it when you pick a theme, it's kind of difficult to see. So let me maybe zoom in just a little bit. If I zoom in a little bit, you'll see it gives you a description of the theme down at the bottom, and it'll also give you some information about things you can customize. And especially if you have like background images or banner images or logos, it'll tell you the size image you should be looking for that item. If you're gonna customize that, it'll tell you what size. So keep that in mind. Okay. So when you pick a theme, again, you'll click it and it'll provide you with the different presets for that theme. And if you wanted to change to that theme, you'll click on the theme, click on the preset, click apply theme, and then there you go. Now it's applied that modern theme to it. Okay, let's go with Wonderful Cross here. How about that one? I know it's a popular theme. So let's go ahead and use this one here. And there we go. Now, with themes, they break down really into two different categories. And so I want to explain the differences here. So the different, we have basically themes that are horizontally aligned and vertically aligned. To explain what I mean by that, Wonderful Cross is a horizontally aligned theme. I say that because if you look at the navigation along the top, this menu bar along the top, it's oriented horizontally along the top of the page. You'll see all your various pages in your navigation here. And as you move your mouse over some of these items are categories, and you'll have your various pages under them. Now, there are other themes, though, that are vertically oriented, specifically the minimal theme and the vertical theme. And it's not even actually every version of every preset of the minimal theme, but the vertical theme is, yeah, every one of them is a vertically oriented theme. Now, the difference with the vertical themes is, I'll go ahead and pick one of those here really quick. You'll see the vertical themes are aligned along the left side of the page, and you'll see the various pages here. You might notice, though, that there are no categories here. So vertically aligned themes don't utilize categories. So what I would say is if your church just maybe has a handful of pages that it wants to show off, I would say I would go ahead and say a vertical theme would be good for that. But if you have more pages and you want to kind of organize things in categories, I would go with a horizontally aligned theme. And basically, again, the two vertical themes are minimal and vertical. All the other ones are horizontal themes. Okay. Now, there are save as and delete options here. Save as is only if you're going to clone your theme, and I'll briefly touch on that today, but we're not really going to talk about that during today's session. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go to styles here next. Now, styles are our solutions for fonts here inside of Church360 Unite. Now, in various older iterations of Church360 Unite, it used to be that as you were working on your page, you could change your fonts on the fly, but we discovered a problem with that, and it's probably a problem that, if you think about it, it becomes pretty obvious. Well, if I can just change my fonts on the fly, oh, okay, maybe I want, a particular size font here, and I want it to be a particular color, and I set that all up on one page, and then I'm working on another page later, and I go, oh, I want to use that same font again. Oh, what size did I pick, and what was the exact color? And maybe you'd be able to get something that looks close, but it's not exactly the same, and that just becomes a problem of consistency then. Like you just don't look consistent across your church webpage, and that just looks kind of sloppy. So we don't want to do that. We want to have you guys set up your style, your fonts here through the styles menu. This is going to let you set up, a handful of different fonts that you're going to use throughout your church website, and they'll be consistent throughout your church website. Now, styles are broken down into two categories: block styles and inline styles. Okay, block styles are more used for your headings. These are more your attention grabbers. You use these to kind of get people's attention. Inline styles, again, is more your body text. This is more kind of the actual content of your church website. After you've kind of grabbed people's attention, then below that you'd have your inline styles. Now, if you want to add new styles into the system, you can click Add Style. This is going to take you to where you can add different styles. Now, you will go ahead and name your style. So let's call this Example. And there are two different options you can pick from. You can do a block style or an inline style. By their nature, because they're supposed to stand out, block styles have just a few more options than inline. And also, when we're kind of demonstrating this, I'm just going to be looking at the block styles. Inline styles have all the same, there are all the same options in inline. The block just has a few more. So we're just going to look at the block styles. So first up, you have the font family. This is actually the font styling itself, and you can see we offer a lot of different options. I want to make a special mention of this inherit option up at the top. This is going to copy whatever font whatever font is above this font. If there's nothing above it, it'll look below it for that. But you can pick a different different fonts here. So let's say I go with this. Let's use this Roboto font here. Your sample font is going to be right here. So this is going to give you a sampling of what this font's actually going to look like. Next, you get a font style, and depending on which font family you pick, you're going to get different options for this. So Roboto is one that offers a lot of font styles. So maybe I want that to be bold italic. Okay. Next, I can pick my font size. Now, font size is all measured in what's called EM. EM is kind of a standardized measuring unit. So this is what 1 EM looks like. And then everything else is a percentage of that EM. So you can see this is 0.75 EM. So it's 3/4 the size of a regular right? You know, a standard EM, but then you can see here's the larger ones, and you can see they get bigger here to actually represent, you know, give you an idea of how big those actually are. So let's say this is going to be 1.75. Okay, next we get a text decoration. So if you want this to always have an underline or a strike through it, you can set that there. Then you can set your color for your font. So you have a pretty robust color picker here. You can kind of go through and select what color font you want. And you can also do that by putting in the RGB values, the HSB values, which hue, saturation, and I think bloom. And then finally, you can also do that through a hex code if you know the exact hex code of the color that you want. In this case, I'm just going to stick with black though. Okay. Next up here, we have the background color. So this is something that's exclusive to block styles. You can apply a background color to your font. So if you want to do that, you can kind of apply that here. And again, you have all the same color picker options for that. Then you get your margins and paddings. Margin and padding is basically spacing around your font. Think of like there being an invisible box around your font. Margin is the space between that invisible box and your text. Padding is the space between that box and the other text around it. So you can kind of place margins at the top, right, bottom, and left of each of your fonts. And same thing with padding, top, right, bottom, and left. And that's all measured in EM as well. Next up here, you get an option to place a border on your font. So if you wanted to say, hey, I want a solid border on my font, I would pick the type of border that I want. I can pick the color border that I want, and then I'll choose the line thickness. So let's say I want that to be 2. So it's kind of a thinner border there. You can set that up. So that's how we can set up a border. And so after you set up all these options and you have things the way you want it, you can click Save. And then that is going to go ahead and create that style. So now we have that style here. Now you might have noticed here, there's this font load meter. And this font load meter, it's kind of your indication of kind of what your fonts are going to do to your load times on your site. So you can see kind of like this little, like almost speedometer looking thing here. And you can see there's a green section, yellow, and red. The more unique font families, and again, that's like the actual font itself, remember it was Roboto here, that you're using, the more font load you're going to put on your site. Now, with what I've done here, it's not really going to very much affect the load times on my site. You really only need to be concerned when you kind of get into this red area here, because every time you go to a page, it has to load in all the fonts. So you might notice a little bit of a delay if you have a lot of different font families that you're using. So you want to try this at maybe the very most, stick to just maybe 2, maybe 3 if you're kind of pushing it for your site. So just kind of try to keep consistent. Okay. Next up here is the customize section. And the customize section is going to vary a little bit depending on which themes that we're using here. So you'll see here in the material theme that we're using right now, these are the different options I have. I could change my header color, and you can see it'll give you a little preview of what it will change over there. You can change your navigation colors. That's this bar right here. You can change that around. A sidebar border. So if there's any pages with sidebars, it'll be this yellow color, and then the sidebar color. Also, this is the border of the sidebar. This is actual color of the sidebar. You could apply a banner image, and you can upload the image to your computer for that. Accent color, and that's like any of your fonts down here, and then your heading font. You can choose from a couple different fonts to make your heading. Now, again, you're not going to have these same options in a different themes. Different themes offer different options. Got a question about after the website is set up with a theme, can you change the theme? Yes, you can change a theme. You want to be careful about doing that though, because if you change a theme, it's going to change, of course, the theme itself, the colors. It's also going to change the style. So you need to be careful about changing your theme. I would say you can definitely change it after the fact, but it's not something like you can preview. You have to, if you pick a theme, you have to apply it so you can actually see it on your site. So you want to consider that carefully if you're going to make changes to your theme. Okay, so that's the customized section for your theme. After that, we have the advanced section. This is where you can put in kind of advanced custom code into the software. So this is kind of as the name implies, more of an advanced option. typically, this is really only used if this is something there's something you just really can't do with just the basic tools that we provide. And typically, if you were wanting to use this is something where maybe we can. I don't want to promise too much of this, but sometimes we can kind of provide some solutions through here. And then there's the edit menu, and you can only use this edit menu on a clone theme. And again, I'm not going to get too deep into that today, but if you clone a theme, basically it gives you access to the full code of that theme. So this is a really advanced option. This is if you have somebody who's really a web design pro at your church and is comfortable working in code. They could go ahead and clone your theme. Now, there are benefits and drawbacks to that, of course. The main drawback to it is that if we go back to our settings menu and we look at social links, for example, it says if you've copied a theme to customize it, this option may not be available to you, depending on when you copy the theme. When we introduce new features to Church360 Unite, if you've cloned your theme, we will not be providing those new features to you because we don't know how those features are going to interact with your customizations and your clone theme. So just bear that in mind if you are going to use that clone theme option here. Okay. Another question we had, one more question about styles is, could you add a new style using the normal style and then just change the color? Yes, you can actually, and I forgot to mention this. If you click on a style, you can edit it, and you can do a save as to create a copy of that style. And then when you do it, so you make all your changes and then do a save as, and then I'll create a new copy of that style. So you could keep your existing one and then create a new one to kind of switch over to if you wanted to do that as well. Okay, so that's themes. Let's move on next to talk about pages. So this is our pages menu. The pages menu is going to contain all the different pages that are on your church website. Now you'll notice here, your pages menu is set up to be broken up into two sections, your active menu items and your available menu items. Active menu items are the pages that are on your navigation here inside of Church360 Unite. So you can see home, about us, and then all the pages under about us, worship times. And if we look here, we see home, about us, all those pages, worship times. So you can see anything that's here in the active menu items will appear in your navigation. Now, available menu items, you can also have pages here, but with these pages are not going to appear in your navigation. You can place links to these pages on any of the pages that you have, or if people have the website address for those pages, they can get to those pages, but these available menu items will not appear in your navigation. So that's the key difference here. These will appear in your navigation, the active menu items. The available menu items will not appear in your navigation. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Let's look at the different items here in our active menu items. We're going to talk about these different icons we see here. So next to home, we see kind of our basic icon. This is what's called a blank page icon. Blank pages are probably what you're going to be using to construct most of your website. This is kind of think of like a clean sheet of paper. This is just kind of a basic type of page to work from. Next, we have a category. Now, categories aren't pages themselves. If you add a category and don't place any pages under them, they won't even appear in your navigation. But categories are used to kind of group pages together. So you can see, like, we have a category here called About Us, and it contains pages here that are all pertaining to that category topic. So what we believe, mission and vision, our story, our staff, contact us, directory. You can see all those different items there. Okay, moving on down here, another unique page icon we see here is the calendar page. Now, calendar page is where you're going to have your main calendar for the church website. You can only have one calendar page, and we'll get into more details about the calendar page and why it works the way it does here during our next training session. Moving on down here, we have what's called a feed page. And this is, again, something we'll talk about more during our next session. But feed pages are basically blog post style pages where people can go in and add different posts of content to this page. So we have a sermons page here. So, pastor could go in and post the sermon every week here on this page. Next up here, we have this little members icon page, and this is the online directory component of Church360 Unite. So you can be able to see when you have people either from Church360 members, people that you just uploaded to Church360 Unite directly, or people from Shepherd staff. Here, this is where you're going to be able to see them in the online directory piece of the software. Okay, so those are different page icons that you might see here. Another page icon that we didn't see is a group page, and again, we'll talk more about group pages during our session, during tomorrow's session. Now, you might have also noticed here next to most of these pages, they all have this draft button here. So when a page is in draft status, this is basically our way of saying we're still working on this page. It's not ready for kind of public consumption yet. So we see a page that is in draft status, I can click on it to highlight it, and you'll see there's actions for selected pages down here at the bottom. You'll see the first two buttons are publish and make draft. So if we decide that, hey, this page is ready for everybody to see, I'm ready for users to be able to, for people to be able to see this, I can click publish, and that's going to take that draft status away. That means no matter who comes to your site, whether they're signed in or whether they're not signed in, whether they can make changes to your website or not, they can see this page. Now, when a page is in draft status, and you click make draft to put it into draft status, that's going to make it so that only people who are signed into your church website and have the ability to make changes to your church website would be able to see this page. So again, this is kind of our way of putting this kind of a under construction sign on the page. People won't even see the page in the navigation, or even if they had the website address, it won't show them there's a page there if they don't have the ability to edit a page on your church's website. Okay. There's a couple other options down here. There's a delete option. Now, you want to be extra careful with the delete option because it's one of the, when you delete a page, it's gone. It is completely gone. It cannot be recovered. So you want to be extra careful about deleting pages. It's our recommendation that we just move those pages into the available menu items, which I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So remember, deleting pages is a permanent thing. You want to be very careful about it. Okay. Next two options here are public and private. Let me go ahead and publish the page so you can see what this does. Now, there's public and private. And if I make a page private, I click on it and make it private, that puts a members only status on it. Now, this is kind of similar to how draft works. The key difference though is this is saying that only people who are signed into the website can see this page. That doesn't mean that they have to be able to edit the website. They just have to be signed into the website. We'll talk about signing in here, during our next session tomorrow. But you have to be signed into the website in order to see that page. So this is nice if you have some content that you only want maybe the members of your church to be able to see. If you've given them sign-ins, you can kind of make that more exclusive to them. Now, if you want to take that members only status away from a page, you can make it public, and that'll take that away. I do want to make a special note that the members page, that online directory page, is members only, and it's always members only. You can't make that public. So that's going to make sure your directory is protected then at that point. So let's keep that in mind. We'll go ahead and make that page here back to being a draft. Now, the final option here is to duplicate a page. And this is a really handy option. So if I go ahead and click on a page and I click duplicate, you'll see over here in my available menu items, it creates a page here. I duplicated our staff, so now I have our staff 1. This creates an exact copy of this page. So this is an exact copy of the page. Now, how I've heard people use this before is, let's say I'm redesigning my our staff page from the ground up, and I want to use the old staff page as kind of a starting ground from where we're designing this. So I can leave the old R staff page up and then work on this R staff 1 over here and make all the changes that I want to make to R staff 1. The old R staff page would still be available for everybody who comes to the website, but I'm working on this one in the background. Then once this one's ready, I could go ahead and delete the old R staff page, or just move it over here to my available menu items, and I just click and drag to do that. And then I'm going to click and drag this page to move it to where I want it here. And then if I delete this page, I could go in and rename this page back to our staff. And then that's going to go ahead and make it so it's really easy for you to make changes, keep your old pages up while you're working on the new page, and then seamlessly switch out the new page with the old page without having any downtime. So this is a really handy feature that you can take advantage of here in the system. So I'm going to delete that page, and that's been deleted. Now, you can also go ahead and, of course, add new categories and pages here. If you add a new category, it's going to be added over here to the active menu items. So we'll just go ahead and make one called example. Now, remember, if I click Save Changes here, that saves any changes that I've made. Remember that a category on its own won't appear in your navigation. Categories themselves are not pages, so they won't appear in your navigation on their own. You have to have pages under a category. So I can click and drag this category to move it to where I want my navigation. Let's place it here. And let's say I wanted to go ahead and move some pages under that. So let's say I want to take my prayer request page and move it under example. So I'm going to click on this page and I can drag it, and you can see there's kind of this gray shadow under it. Now, if I drop it here, that doesn't put it under the example category. If I were to save my changes now, you can see prayer request just gets its own spot here in the navigation. But if I want that to appear under example, I'm going to click and drag this, and you can see that gray shadow. I'm just going to keep moving this to the right, and you see it indents over just a little bit. So if I click on that now, that places the example page under, it places the prayer request page under example. And if I save that, then now I can see example prayer requests. So I can place multiple pages under a category to kind of go through and organize my pages that way. Now, if I ever want to get rid of a category, all I need to do is just click and drag it, drop it over here, and that gets rid of that category. Now, you can only place pages under a category. You can't place a category under another category and then place pages under that. It is only kind of one level of sub-navigation. It may even let you look like you can do that, but it's not actually going to work. So you can't place a category under a category and then place a page under another category. Just doesn't work that way. Now, the other thing we can do here, of course, is to add pages. And if we click Add Page, this brings up the new page window, and it shows you the different types of pages that you can add. And there's really three main ones we need to be concerned about. There's a feed page, which again, we'll talk more about during our next session. Our group pages, again, more on that in our next session. And then a blank page. And that's what we're going to be diving in here to today. Now, you might be saying, well, hey, I see a whole bunch of other options down here too. And these are all pages that are blank pages with some information kind of pre-filled out for you to kind of give you a jump start at building that type of page. So these can definitely be helpful, but really they're all just blank pages with some information kind of pre-filled in for you. So I'm going to go ahead and pick blank page and choose Create Page. And this is going to go ahead and create a new page in my available menu items. So let's say we're making a page for our VBS. So I'm going to type in VBS here. That's the title of the page. Press Enter. And that has created my VBS page in my available menu items. So I can go ahead and save my changes here now. And this page is now available for me to work on. So if I want to go to this page, I can click this little link down here. This is going to take me to my VBS page where I can start working on my page here. This is my VBS page here where I can start adding content. Now, if I want to add content, start working on this page and adding content to it, I'm going to click this Edit Page tab. This is going to extend this Edit Page tab, and then I can start working on this page. Now, there's a few options over here on the left. I can make this page draft or published here, so this is just another place I can do that. I have the URL of the page, and this is the website address for this page. So you can see unite2022.360unite.com/VBS. So if I wanted this to say something different, like I want to spell out Vacation Bible School, I could do that here. I could also change the page title. That's the name of the page, and you see that page title up there. And then you have the meta description. And the meta description, if you've ever done any searching online and you look at the various search entries, you'll see below each entry, it kind of gives you like a 2-sentence blurb about what this page is all about. That's what a meta description is, basically describing what this page is all about. So you want to just put in maybe a short sentence or two about what this page is about. And you don't want to just put in like a bunch of filler words or stuff like that. You want to just say like what the page is about, and that's going to help you show up better in search results. Okay. Now, as for actually adding content to the page, you might have noticed this dotted line box here. Okay, this dotted line box. This is called a cell. This is an area of this page that I can add content to. Now, you'll notice also there's a plus sign above, below below and to the right of the cell. Now, if I can have multiple cells per row. So if I wanted to add new cells to this row, I can click the plus sign to the right of this. And now you can see I have 2 cells here. And I can kind of control how much space each cell gets on this row. I can have up to 4 cells in a single row. So I can this kind of lets me set up like different columns here on this page. Now, I don't have to just add, more cells to a row. I could add another row if I wanted to here as well. So if I click this little plus sign below, I can add another row of cells below the first row of cells here. And I could even take my cells here. This is really easy to do, and this makes it really easy to arrange the layout of your page. I can click and even drag and drop this cell, even with content in it, and I can move it to another spot on my page. So this is really easy to help you build the layout of your page. Now, once you can kind of control that layout, and you can add rows above or below. The only cell you always have to have at least one cell on a page, and you can never get rid of the top leftmost cell. The system won't let you do that, but I can get rid of any other cells here too. So I can go through and click on the gear and click remove cell to get rid of those, and that's going to get rid of those cells. Okay, so that's how we can control the layout of our page. Now, as for actually putting content on the page, let me go ahead and click this little pencil icon here. And this is going to let me start editing this cell. You'll notice my icon is now this little like eye here. This is I can click in here and I can start working with this cell. And this works a lot like most word processor software. So if you're familiar with Microsoft Word, you already kind of have a little bit of a leg up, for example. So if you click here, you can start adding content. If I press enter, that'll give me a line break and I can move down to my next line. If I only want a single space instead, I can hold down the shift key on my keyboard, then press enter, and that just takes me down a single line instead of a double space. So keep that in mind. I can start typing in here, and if I highlight this text, I can choose one of my styles here. So maybe I want to make that heading 1, and hey, look, there we have that example style here. Or that heading 1 now. Okay. I can also make my font bolded, italicized, underlined, or strike through, just kind of on the fly. So there are still a few changes you can make to your font on the fly, but again, the bulkier changes to your fonts are all going to happen in the styles menu. So color, sizing, that's all going to happen there. So you go ahead and put that in. You can change your text alignment here, so you can make things left aligned, right aligned, center aligned, or justified. You can set up bulleted lists. So if I click your bulleted list, I can say example 1, example 2, example 3, and every time I'm pressing enter, it's just giving me a new row here. And if I enter twice, that'll take me onto the bulleted list. You have a numbered list that works just the same way. Then you have your block quote here. Block quotes are used if you have like a bunch of text and you want to kind of draw people's attention to a specific quote within the text. So I can click this and say like, this is a really important quote. And then I can double space out of that, double enter out of that to get out of it. I can increase or decrease the indent on my page. So I can kind of go through and do that on that row that I'm on. I have undo and redo buttons, and I forgot to mention here back on these options, but these also work with the standard keyboard shortcuts. If you hover over one, you can see like if I want to make text bold, I can hold down the control key on my keyboard and then press B. But you have your standard undo and redo options here. So control Z will undo something, control Y will redo something. And you can also, of course, just click these buttons here too. And then next up here, we have the link to menu. There's a couple different options under here, and all this is really useful and important here. So what I'm going to suggest, if you're using the link to menu, is that we want to link things to text. We don't want to just press link to, because that'll put in the raw URL for a link, and that can just sometimes look a little bit sloppy. So I like to go ahead and here and type in some text first. So we're going to go ahead and type in, I like to use the word example. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this now, and now I'm going to press link to. Okay. So this is our link to menu, several different options here. We're going to start off here where it says link type, and I'm going to choose a page or feed on my site. So this is going to let me link to another page on my church website. So I can click here and it shows me all the different pages I could link to. So let's say I want to link this to my calendar page. So I'll pick that here, I'll click add, and then down at the bottom here, if I click save draft, that's going to save my changes to the page. Also, if a page is in publish status, it'll say publish instead. It does the same thing basically. But I can go ahead then, and if I turn off my edit page and I click on this link, you can see now it's brought me to my calendars page. Okay. And I can go back. And if I want to make any changes to this link, I can click on it here and you'll see it'll show you where the link is going. If I click the little pencil icon here, I could change where that link's going. I could also say I want this to open up in a new tab instead. So if I were to save that and then save my draft, now when I click on this link, instead of being in the same tab, oh, I didn't actually save that. That was the problem. Let me try that again. Sorry about that. Open a new tab, save that, save it here, and then you can see that opens up in a new tab in my web browser instead of staying in the same tab. So that can be useful. Okay. And the other option we have here when we edit a link is you'll see there's a little paper clip here with an X next to it. That's going to unlink this. So it basically keeps the text but gets rid of the link. So that can be helpful if you want to kind of keep that text then. Let's look at our other options then. We also have a link to any URL. This is going to let you link to any outside website. So instead of linking to your church's website, you want to link somewhere else outside your church's website. So if you're going to do this, you need to make sure you're putting in the full website address for this link. So if I wanted to link, to google.com, for example, I type in http://www.google.com. You have to put in that full website address, otherwise this link doesn't work. We click the add button, save our draft, and if I click on it, now it takes me to Google, and you can see it right there. Okay, so I'm back there, and that's how I can go ahead and place a link to outside my church website. And again, I can edit this to make it open up in a new tab, and I can link it, which is what I'm going to do. Next type of link is to link to an email address, and this is going to let you link to any other email address. This is going to let you put in a link over to an email address. How some churches use this is actually a way to submit prayer requests. So, I could put in the email address that I want to send to. So we'll say example@example.com. This is where we want to send to. And then you can even put in like a default subject or body text here. So, say this is a prayer request for, or let's call it, say, prayer request for ... and this is a prayer request for ... And if I click add, save draft, then when I click on this link, it's going to open up whatever email service I use on my computer. Close that. Okay, click on this here, and this is going to open up my Outlook. I use Microsoft Outlook, and you can see that email address is pre-filled in, the subject line is pre-filled in, and then that body text is all filled in. So this can be really helpful when you're trying to kind of put information into email link out there for your church to use. Now the final option here is to link to a file for download, and this will let you upload a file to your church website that people can download. Now, one note is the maximum size file that you can upload to your Church360 Unite page is 100 megabytes. That not only applies to files, but that applies to images, video, and audio as well. So just keep that in mind. The maximum size, sorry about that, is 100 megabytes. Sorry, I had a sneeze kind of wanting to come through there. But yes, so if you click this blue upload button, this is going to bring up the file explorer on your computer, and you can upload a file from your computer. Now this can be, really any type of file. This could be documents, like Word documents. It could be PDFs, really whatever you would want there. So, I could go in here and I could just grab a random file here, upload it. This is a PDF. With PDFs here, when you save this, most web browsers can read PDFs right away. So if I were to click on this here, this would open up. This is a blank. This is an example check we did for like Church360 Ledger here. And so you can see that there, and this is a PDF of that. So you can see that there, and that would be a good way you could pull up your church, pull up this PDF. Give me just a second. I accidentally closed out our website here. Pull that up here again. Sorry about that. Okay. So back here, let me get back to my VBS page where we were working before. So that's how we can link to a file that people can download. And I'll remove that link. Okay, so that's how we can do that. Now another option we have here is to put in a line break. This will just put in a horizontal line break here within your cell. You can also insert images, video, and audio here as well. So if I wanted to click the image option and click upload, I can upload a picture from my computer. So again, let me go ahead and pull an image here just really quick. Let me grab that here in just a moment. Pull that off screen for just a second while I get to my images that I want to use here. Okay, so let's say I want to go ahead and upload this. We're going to use this image here, church, and you can see that image here, and I click select, and that uploads this image to my computer, to my website. Okay, so that image is there. Now, if I want to make changes to the image, one of the first things you might want to do is you might want to change the size of this image. Now, if I hover over this image here, one of the options we'll see is change width. Now, you might be saying, well, where's the change height? Well, we kind of have a rule about images in Church360 Unite. We are always going to retain the original proportions of the image that you uploaded. So we only really need to worry about changing the width then, because we change the width, the height will change as well. So if I click change width, we get a dialog box here, and you'll see it gives you a couple different ways we could change the size of an image. You can either put in the pixel value that you want to use or a percentage value. Now, starting with a pixel value, let's say I wanted this image to be 750 pixels wide. So I'll type in 750 and then PX. And then if I click the check mark here, that's going to make this image 750 pixels wide. And you can see it adjust the height appropriately as well. I can also change it using a percentage. So instead, let's say I want this to take up 50% of the width of the cell that it's in. So I type in 50%. And you can see then that takes up about half the width of the cell. And it changed the height appropriately as well. Now with the image here, I can also say change the alignment of the image. So this is left aligned right now, but I could also make it centered, right aligned. I have an asset text alternative here. So this is really good for people maybe who have visual impairments, who maybe use a screen reader. You can see here where it says text alternative. You can write in alternative text for like a screen reader to read off whenever it gets this image. So we could say this is an image of our sanctuary. And then whenever their screen reader would get to that, it would tell them that text that you put in there. Full size asset would return the image to its original size. You can even then apply links to images. So you have all the same options that you had in the link to menu. So page or feed in your site, any URL, email address, file for download. And again, you put in where it's going. And then you can say if it's opening up in the current tab that you're in or in another tab. And then if you add a link to an image, there's also a remove image link. That'll remove the link, but keep the image where it's at. Okay. Now, you do also have the ability, of course, to upload video and audio to your church page as well. With that, though, what we have to consider is your file size. Now, audio, probably not going to be much of a problem. Okay. You're looking for an MP3 audio file, and I've seen pastors get like full church sermons in through MP3 audio and not run into file size problems, because remember, you only have 100 megabytes on file size. Really, it's video where we might run into trouble, because especially in the age of HD video, you can get through 100 megabytes in a matter of minutes. So what's our solution for video? Can we, is there any way we can get a longer video onto our church website? And yes, we absolutely can. To do that, what we're going to do here is we're going to take advantage of this next option, which is the insert media option. What this will let us do is this will let us take a website link for another video. Let's say, for example, it's on YouTube, and I could look up my YouTube video that I want to use. So if you've uploaded your church, your church sermon to a, you uploaded your sermon to a church, to YouTube, I could go and I could pull, like, here's one of our other webinars. I could take this YouTube link here, copy it, and then what I could do here is I could go to Insert Media, right click this, paste it in, check the box, and then that's going to put this video here, right, using the YouTube video player right here on your page. This doesn't take up any of your storage. It's all on YouTube. It's just bringing it in through here so you can use the YouTube video player. And that gets around that whole, like, size limitation. Now, you don't have to use YouTube. You could use other video players too. But this is, probably the most common way people do that. Okay. Now, the next option here is the table option. I'm going to recommend that you would avoid this option. And the reason I say that is because most people these days are viewing your church website on their phones. And I don't know if you've ever been to a website that uses tables on your phone, but if you have, it's not a very good experience. Most phones, most mobile browsers just aren't tuned to handle tables properly. So if you want to use them, you certainly can. You'll pick the size table that you want to use. You can put it there, and you can kind of insert columns, merge columns, delete columns. But again, I'm going to recommend that you really try to avoid them if you can. Now, last two options here, group link. We'll talk more about that during the next session, which we'll be talking about groups there. And then the HTML block. And this is going to let you put custom code onto your church web page. So a custom HTML code. Again, kind of an advanced option, but you can do some neat stuff with it. Don't have any examples I can show you today, but again, kind of some cool things you can do there. Now, that's just what we call a rich text cell. There's other cell types here too, and I'm going to give you just a brief introduction to those. If I add a cell here and I click edit cell type, I can go ahead and add other types of cell. So we're going to go ahead and add what's called a carousel. Now, a carousel is a slideshow of images. So if I choose a carousel and then I edit it, I can go ahead and I can go ahead and add content to my carousel. This is, again, kind of like a slideshow of images. So a couple of the options that we have. First up is an animation option. You can tell it to advance to the next slide every so many seconds. So let's say every 7 seconds, I want this to advance to the next slide. You're also going to choose a maximum height for your images. We do have to kind of choose a default height for our images to make sure everything fits in that slideshow. So we'll say everything can be 300 pixels high at most. Next, we can click Add Image, and that adds a slot to your slideshow, basically. So we have a slot for an image here now, and if I click Select, now I can go ahead and I can grab images. Now, you'll notice that image that I uploaded here earlier is still here. Now, if I ever wanted to take an image off of my church website or any file or anything I've uploaded to the church website, you would just go to a place that you could insert that image or insert that file, and you'll find a little icon here. You'll find the what you've uploaded, and there'll be a little trash can icon next to it. If you click on that, that will remove it from your church website. And if it wasn't uploaded to the page that you're on, you can find it under Assets Uploaded on Other Pages. But we'll start off here and we'll upload this image of the church. And you can also add like headings and captions to this. So picture of our sanctuary, stained glass. I'll go ahead and put that as the caption. And then I can even make this linkable. So I could put a link to another website or a Unite page. And you can say it'll open in this tab or another tab. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. So that adds that image to that slot. And then I would just keep repeating that process to add all the images that I want to my slideshow. So I go in here and I can upload another image. So let's go ahead and get this image here and we'll add that in. Let's get one more. And let's use this image. And we have that there. Add. Okay. So now we have all our images here, and if I save this, and I save my draft, you can see there's my slideshow. So you can see there's that heading and caption that I have, and if I wait a few seconds, there we go. It advances to the next image. Or if I want to manually advance the next image, I can just click these arrows on the left or right to go ahead and choose that. So a lot of churches will choose to put this on their home page, and maybe they'll have images of different things that are coming up at the church, and they'll have links on those images to jump to particular pages on their website. So this could be a really helpful tool. Now there's other cell types as well. They relate to feed and calendars. So basically you can have a link to a feed cell, or you can link to particular calendars. We're not going to talk about those today since we really haven't talked about feeds or calendars yet, but just kind of keep that in mind. But that's going to be our training here for today. So let's go ahead now and let's go back and let's go ahead and go back to our slideshow. Let's get into our quiz here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take our quiz. And our first question up in today's quiz is going to be a true or false question. All right, now think back here to our settings part. Any images, video, audio, or other files that you've uploaded to your church's Church360 Ignite website will use some of your site's available storage. Okay, is that true or false? Any images, video, audio, or other files that you've uploaded to your church's Church360 Ignite website will use some of your site's available storage. So I'm going to give everybody just a few more seconds to answer that question. You should have a window on screen where you can select if you feel like that's true or false. So I'll give everybody just another couple moments to get their answers in. Looks like most of us have submitted an answer here at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Okay, and it looks like we were unanimous here. Everybody said that was true, so are we right? Yes, that is true. All assets that you upload to your Church360 Ignite website do count against how much storage you have on your site. Different subscription levels offer different amounts of storage, so just keep that in mind. Okay, next question. Font changes, such as changing the size or color of your fonts, can be made on the fly. True or false on that? Font changes, such as changing the size or color of your fonts, can be made on the fly. Is that true or false? So while you're working on a page, can you go in and change the color of a font or change the size of a font? Are you able to do that? So give everybody just another moment or two to get that one answered. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Okay, so you're a little bit more split on this one. Majority said false, so let's see if we're correct here. And yes, that is false. Changes to your fonts happen within the styles menu, and styles allow you to set up different fonts for you to use throughout your site before you start designing your pages. This is done so you get a consistent look throughout your church website. So you can make some small changes like bolding or italicizing fonts on the fly, but really if you're going to make changes like color changes or size changes, that needs to happen in the styles menu. All right, next question up. Another true or false question. Pages in the available menu items will be seen in the navigation or menu bar of your site. Okay, pages in the available menu items will be seen in the navigation or menu bar of your site. So think about that for a second. The available menu items will be seen in the navigation or menu bar of your site. Give everybody just a few seconds to get that one answered here. Just another few seconds. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the poll out here. All right, we're pretty split on this one. Pretty close to running about even here. So true or false, and that is going to be false. And that was a little tricky here. Only pages that are in your active menu items, not your available menu items. You have those two columns. Only your pages in your active menu items will appear in your navigations. Pages in your available menu items can still be linked to or accessed if you have the URL for the page, but otherwise won't appear in your navigation. So you can put links to those pages in your available menu items on other pages, but only the pages that are in the active menu items are going to appear in that menu bar part. So just keep that in mind. Okay, another true or false question. When you create cells on a page, they can be dragged and dropped to arrange the page in the way you want it. Okay, true or false? Thinking back to arranging the layout for our pages. Can we drag and drop cells to kind of arrange a page in the way that we want it to be? Okay, most everybody's put in their answer here now. Go ahead and close this one out. All right, most of us said true on this one, so let's go ahead and see if that's correct, and that is true. Rows and cells make it easy to arrange your page in the way you'd like it to appear, including even dragging and dropping cells to quickly rearrange a page. So, I was really only showing working with one cell, but you can definitely add multiple cells and kind of drag and drop those in the way you want them to get, everything laid out how you would want it on a page. All right, final question. Final question. There isn't a way to display videos that have a file size over 100 megabytes on a page. True or false? There's not a way to display videos that have a file size of over 100 megabytes on a page. So this is something covered near the end of today's training, thinking about those larger video files. Is there any way to show those on your church website? Everybody just another moment or two to submit your answer. Okay, it looks like everybody's most everybody's put in their response here. I'm gonna close that one out. We were unanimous on this one. Everybody said false, and good job, guys. That is false. It's definitely true. Hey, there's a 100 megabyte cap on files that can be uploaded to Church360 Unite. You do have the capability to use that embed media option, though, to bring in videos from sources outside of Church360 Unite. So that can be kind of your way around that limitation here. Okay. Well, with that wraps up our quiz. And do you guys have any questions? Didn't see a whole lot of questions come in during the course of today's training, but that's okay. If you're holding your questions for now, we can certainly answer those now. I'm going to go ahead and progress to the next slide. Don't worry if you're still writing your question. You can definitely go ahead and still work on that. But I want to thank everybody for attending today's Church360 Unite webinar. I really hope everybody enjoyed today's session. If you have further questions, you can contact us here on our support line, and you can see that information there. Can you upload an audio WAV file? Not to my knowledge. I think it needs to be an MP3 audio file. I think you can, well, let me rephrase that. You can upload a WAV file as a file, but as an audio, like as an uploading audio, I don't believe a WAV file will work for the audio part. So you're going to be looking again for more MP3 audio there. So you can take a specific slide from a sidebar cell and make it show up automatically on other pages. Can you take a specific slide from a sidebar cell? I guess I don't know what we mean quite by a sidebar cell when we say that. I'm not quite sure what we're asking for on that. Specifically, a specific cell that is on the left side. No, cells are unique to the pages that they are on. So you can't take a cell from one page and have it show up on other pages. So yeah, so that unfortunately, no, that doesn't quite work like that. Okay. Any other questions that anybody has today? Okay, doesn't look like any other questions are coming in. If you have any other questions, though, of course, feel free to reach out to us at your support line phone number or that email you're seeing right there. Both of those are going to be, a good way to reach out to us, and we are happy to help you with any questions that you may have. We'll have another session here tomorrow at the same time. My associate Tim is going to be taking care of that one, so we will see you tomorrow, and you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.